The rain was coming down in sheets, a relentless drumming against the metal roof of the bus. It was the kind of night where the world felt small and claustrophobic. Just me and the long, empty road stretching into the darkness. I was on the last run of the night, the 1-1B route, a serpentine path through the sleeping suburbs that nobody in their right mind would take this late. My only company was the rhythmic swoosh of the wipers and the low grumble of the engine. I checked my rearview mirror, a habit ingrained after 20 years behind the wheel. The bus was empty, just rows of vacant, worn-out seats reflecting the dim, flickering overhead lights. The fluorescents had been acting up all week, casting long, dancing shadows that played tricks on your eyes. Sometimes, out of the corner of my vision, I'd think I saw someone sitting there, only to look again and find nothing. Just another sign I needed a vacation. The bell chimed, a shrill, jarring sound that made me jump. I glanced at the mirror again. Still empty. Must be a short in the wiring, just like the lights. The rain was getting heavier, blurring the streetlights into hazy orange blobs. I slowed as I approached the stop at Blackwood Lane. It was an isolated stop, right on the edge of the old cemetery. Nobody ever got on or off here, especially not in a storm like this. I usually just drove right past it, but tonight, a figure was standing there, a silhouette against the gloom. It was a woman, her frame slight, drenched by the downpour. I couldn't make out her face, just a curtain of long, dark hair plastered to her head. My heart did a little flutter kick of annoyance. Great. A late-night straggler. I pulled the bus to a squealing halt and swung the doors open. A gust of wind and rain swept inside, carrying the smell of wet earth and decay. She climbed the steps slowly, her movements unnaturally fluid, almost like she was gliding. She didn't look at me. She just walked past, leaving a trail of dark, wet footprints on the floor, and made her way to the very back of the bus. She chose the last seat on the left, the one right in the corner, and sat down, her back to me. The doors hissed shut, sealing us in together. I pulled away from the curb, my eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. All I could see was the back of her head, that same cascade of wet, black hair. She didn't move, not a twitch. The silence in the bus was suddenly heavy, oppressive. The only sounds were the engine, the wipers, and the rain. But now, there was something else. A faint, almost an audible dripping sound. Drip, drip, drip. It was coming from the back. Probably just the water running off her coat. We drove for what felt like an eternity. The flickering lights seemed to pulse in time with my own racing heart. Each time they flickered, the shadows in the bus would leap and contort. I kept my eyes glued to the road, but my gaze was constantly drawn back to the mirror. To her. Still unmoving, still silent. The dripping continued, a steady, maddening rhythm. Drip, drip, drip. Next stop. I called out, my voice sounding rough and loud in the stillness. No answer, ma'am. You need to tell me where you're getting off, I said, a little more forcefully. Silence. The dripping seemed to get louder. Drip, drip. An unease, cold and sharp, began to prickle at the back of my neck. This was wrong. Everything about this felt wrong. I tried to reason with myself. She's probably just tired. Or maybe she has headphones in. But I knew she didn't. I had watched her get on. I pulled over at the next stop, even though no one was waiting. I turned in my seat, trying to get a better look at her. Listen, lady, this is the end of the line in a few more stops. I need to know where you're going. She didn't respond. Her head was bowed, her hair completely obscuring her face. All I could see was her pale, slender hands resting in her lap. They were unnaturally still. The dripping sound was right there, clear as day now. It wasn't coming from her coat. It was coming from her hair. Drip, drip. Little puddles of dark water were forming on the seat around her. My blood ran cold. I remembered a night just like this, about a year ago. A furious storm, the last run. I was tired, irritable, behind schedule. A young woman had flagged me down at that same stop, Blackwood Lane. I hesitated, but the schedule was tight, and my supervisor was always on my case. I made a split-second decision. I sped up and drove right past her, leaving her standing in the pouring rain. The next day, it was all over the news. A young woman's body had been found near the cemetery. A hit and run. They never found the driver. I told myself it wasn't my fault. I wasn't the one who hit her. But a seed of guilt had planted itself deep inside me. A guilt that had been growing for a year. My hands were trembling so hard, I could barely grip the steering wheel. I had to get her off my bus. I had to. I unbuckled my seatbelt and stood up, the bus groaning under my weight. The air was suddenly frigid, my breath misting in front of me. "Ma'am," I started, my voice shaking. "You have to get off that now." I took a step down the aisle. The dripping stopped. The silence that followed was 1,000 times worse. The bus lights flickered violently, then went out completely, plunging us into absolute darkness. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. The only light was the faint, ghostly glow from the dashboard. And then I heard a sound. A slow, wet, scraping sound from the back of the bus. She was moving. She was coming towards me. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers slick with sweat, and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the blackness, shaking in my hand. I aimed it down the aisle. The back seat was empty. The dark, wet stain was still there, but she was gone. My relief was short-lived, immediately replaced by a fresh wave of terror. Where did she go? A soft whisper slithered through the air, right next to my ear. "You left me." I screamed, spinning around, shining the light everywhere. There was no one there. The whisper came again, from the other side this time, a cold breath on my neck. "You left me in the rain." I stumbled backward, tripping over something on the floor. I fell hard, my phone clattering away, its light spinning wildly across the ceiling. I scrambled for it, my hands patting desperately on the wet floor. My fingers brushed against something. It was a shoe. A small, simple woman's flat, soaked through. Then the bus lights flickered back on, buzzing erratically. And I saw her. She wasn't at the back of the bus anymore. She was standing right in front of the doors, blocking my only exit. She was slowly lifting her head. The long, black hair, matted with water and something darker, began to part. I didn't want to see. God, I didn't want to see. But I couldn't look away. Her face was pale, a ghostly white, with skin that looked bruised and waterlogged. But it was her eyes that broke me. They were empty sockets, dark and hollow, yet they stared right into me, right into my soul. And from those empty sockets, a thick, black liquid was weeping down her cheeks, dripping onto the floor. Drip, drip. Her lips, blue and cracked, peeled back into a horrifying grin, revealing broken teeth. "We're at my stop now," she rasped, her voice a gurgle of water and gravel. "This is the end of the line. For you." She lunged. I never even had time to scream again. The last thing I saw was that terrible, grinning face filling my vision. The last thing I heard was the sound of the rain, the flickering buzz of the lights, and that endless, maddening dripping. Now, every night, I ride this bus. I wait for the last run. I wait for a driver who's tired, behind schedule, and tempted to just keep going. And when I see one, I ring the bell. It's my route now, forever. And trust me, I never leave a passenger behind.